What's going on, everybody? How's it going? What's up, YouTube land? What's up, Trevor?
Brady, what's up, bud?
Missed you, man. It's been a little bit. You've been out in Ireland.
I was in Ireland. No, it was a blast. Yeah, they were with my parents and
I can
my
still smell the
brother.
Guinness coming out of your pores. Just kidding.
Dude, yeah, like we were talking yesterday, I had a new discovery over there, which was Guinness Zero. And for any of you Guinness lovers or connoisseurs, or if you don't like Guinness, yeah, they have a zero now, 0% alcohol.
Yeah.
And it was great because I could have a couple of Guinness, and I enjoy Guinness. It legit is better over there. So if people say, you know, the baguettes are better in Paris or the Guinness is better in Ireland, it's true. Like there's a not a tartness, but a I can't even think of the word right now, but Guinness is smooth over there, has a sweet finish. It doesn't have like it's not tartness.
There's something about it. It's like you go to an Oregon brewery, and like in the actual brewery, and their beer is fresher than what they distribute.
Yeah.
Or like you go to Stubbs barbecue sauce.
Yep.
We used to live in Austin. We used to go to the Stubbs restaurant. That barbecue sauce is so different.
Oh,
It's
dude.
so amazing.
Yeah.
Like straight from the source.
100%.
It's so
and you
good.
guys are going to get some stuff straight from the source today. A little transition for you. We're pumped to have you guys on here. We've got an amazing topic. Brady will kind of introduce us, but as you guys are piling in here on YouTube and into Facebook land somewhere, we're going to be talking about a topic that honestly comes up all the time. You know, comes up every week, probably comes up every single day in customers' minds or prospects' minds. And it has came up since the start of Carrot's time. I've been dealing with this question ever since 2013.
Yeah.
And even before Carrot, this question too of long copy versus short copy. So we'll dig into that here in a bit, but we'll continue welcome people in here for a few.
Sweet. Yeah. If you got any questions on like things like word count, what kind of copy should you have on the website, anything along those lines, put them in the chat and we'll answer them. But otherwise, let's kick off the podcast. We'll get
Let's
into
do
it.
it.
Why the heck are Carrot websites so text heavy? We get this question all the time. Why is there so much text? And it bugs the crap out of me because the number one focus when people are talking about websites is like, oh, I want it to look so clean. And I just like that word is just a little bit of a misnomer. Like I want my website to look clean. What we're talking about today is really how much text do you need on a page? When to use long form copy versus short form copy. And we really want to demystify how much text you need on your website for SEO purposes, for conversion purposes, and some good tips on how to break up your text and make it not just a wall of text. What are Carrot members doing to be successful for ranking and for conversion? So that's what we're talking about today. Let's kick it off with some interesting data. Trevor, what do you got, man?
Dude, so what we're really talking about, guys, is long copy versus short copy, right? And like Brady said, we hear it all the time. Hey, I showed the website to my aunt, and my aunt said it's too wordy. I remember it was a Facebook comment a couple months ago, I think, in the Facebook group. It was a really well-intentioned comment. It's like, hey, our Carrot website's still wordy. And at the end of the day, what we do at Carrot, and I'm going to give you guys a stat, what we do at Carrot is we build what is going to work to convert your prospect.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're not focused on just building wordy pages just because we think, because that's all we can build. We could build a page with 5 words on it. We could build a page that looks like apple.com. We can build all that stuff. And we have built things like that over the years. But we're building things that engage your prospect and convert. So quick question for you guys. Let's say there's a really long page, right? It's a page that has 1,500 or 2,000 words on it going after a motivated health seller. It's one of those big ones that you just keep scrolling. There's images and there's words on it. What percentage of all visitors, this is across 1,000+ visitors on this one website over the past 30 days, what percentage of all visitors made it to the bottom of that website of over 2,000 words to motivated health seller?
Is this a homepage?
Homepage.
If it's a homepage, my guess would be around, I'd say around like 15 to 35%, just because a lot of numbers. You have a lot of people, and I would think they're clicking to other things further up in the content. They're going to hit a form, or they're going to go to the About Us page. So I would think for a homepage, maybe relatively low.
Dude, so you're right in that range. Braden, if you can pull up my screen right here. So I've got some data that we're showing on screen on the YouTube side of things and Facebook. If you're listening to the podcast version, head over and subscribe or join the community at community.carrot.com. But what I'm showing is some software with a scroll map. Okay. And this is a page that's long. You know, it's got a lot of words. It's robust. You know, I'm just scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, lots of words on this page. And we've tested lots of variations of short copy, long copy. Okay. And so with this particular page, at the very bottom, out of the last 30 days and all these visitors, 16.62% of people made it all the way to the bottom of that page, which that's decently significant. Okay. Now, let's say for people who made it halfway down the page, that's 122 people, 33 people, or 33% of all traffic made at least halfway down the page. Now, what's important is not just the percentages, it's the actual numbers, right? So in this particular website, over 122 people, individual visitors, made it halfway down this page of over 2,000 words. Why is that important, y'all? Because what we're going after when we're marketing, and we're marketing to sellers or buyers or prospects, we're going after those individuals who are most motivated, who we need to educate and build trust with and build credibility with, who are then ready to take action.
Yeah.
That's 122 people who felt that the top of the website did not have enough words or content or context to drive them to opt in and become a lead yet, and they felt compelled to read more. Okay, 122. If we would have only had a squeeze page with just a headline, form, a few bullet points, how many of those 122 would have bounced because they didn't get what they needed to feel comfortable and ready to move on to the next step? A lot. What if one of those 122 is actually the person who was going to turn into a deal and they didn't, and you lost a $30,000 deal because you didn't do what we're going to teach in this podcast episode about how to build out the content in your web pages, guys. Long copy is very important in the right circumstances. We're going to tell you why.
So long form versus short form copy. One of the things I want to kind of bust right out of the gates is we had a Facebook thread going this week, Trevor, about like, could anyone guess the minimum word count for, if we're looking at purely from an SEO standpoint?
Yep.
My ballpark on this would be 1,000, 1,200 for a minimum. But like we're talking about before the podcast, it's all relative. It's all contextual to like, what's the person ahead of you with that number 1 or number 2 spot in Google? What are they using to rank? And how helpful is it? So what are your thoughts on that?
Dude, my rule of thumb on copy, I don't care if it's for SEO, I don't care if it's for sales copy, for a direct mail piece or a text message or an email or an ad, is, and you guys aren't going to like this, but your copy should be as long as it needs to be able to bust the arguments, and as short as it needs to be to bust the arguments. And so for SEO, for that purpose, right, you probably are going to need to have a page that's between 1,000 and 2,000 words for most competitive phrases for motivated house sellers in the United States anyway. Okay. Now, if you're going to go after, like, you know, let's say there's Sutherland, Oregon. Okay. Really small town, like 15,000 people, I think, just north of Roseburg.
Yeah.
I could probably rank really, really high for a sell my house fast in Sutherland type of a phrase and not have it be 2,000 words, right? Just really good targeted content, maybe 800, maybe 1,000 potentially. But if I'm going after Dallas or maybe even Roseburg, Oregon, or Portland, and all the top 5 pages have on average 1,500 words, I should probably have around 1,500 words or more. I don't need to have 4,000, but if I come into that with 800 words, Google's going to look at it as these other sites have more authority, more trust. They're adding more value. They're answering more questions. So therefore, it's more relevant to the search.
Yeah.
So that's what we're after, guys, is, are we adding value and being useful to the prospect in comparison to the other pages that show up?
And that's one of the interesting things is I think it'd be important for people to realize that Google also looks at this at real estate topics differently. So there's this thing in SEO from Google called YMYL. This is your money, your life.
Yep.
And so basically, in a nutshell, Google wants to see higher EAT scores. We're about to jump into a series on EAT over the next 3 weeks. We'll talk about EAT and what that means. Basically, Google wants to see higher expertise, experience, authority, and trust on any of these your money, your life topics. So financial advice, health advice, wellness advice, housing advice. It has to do with your money, your life. So Google wants to see more thorough, helpful, organized content.
Yep, for sure. And dude, on that topic right there too, when we're talking about copy and copy length, we're going to dig into detail how to think about copy differently. We're going to show examples and things like that. But at the end of the day, with copy, one of the big factors that Google looks at is actually the user experience, right? That's a major factor in SEO. And user experience is a lot of things, but in general, if someone clicks on a web page and bounces back, let's say it's a really thin content squeeze page or something. If that page doesn't give them what they need and they bounce back, that's a low stick rate, high bounce rate, low amount of time on the page, right? Brandon, if you can pop up the screen again, and let me kind of share some data here. So for a Google search, in this particular time period with this marketing channel in Google search, the average engagement per session in this one here, it said it was about a minute or so. Okay, it's about a minute. With other like social media, it's way lower. Paid marketing, it's about a third or so or about half of the organic search. So when someone's in the mode of doing a Google search, they're looking for information. They stay on average more than double the amount of time that people do through other channels. So they're in information seeking mode. So especially when you're trying to rank something in Google, long copy is going to be helpful. Another thing, when we're looking at some things, I don't think I have it on this page here, but I might have it on another piece of content somewhere. Let me see if I can find it. If not, I will. Actually, yeah, I do. I'll go over here to my dashboard. Okay. So one other thing that you want to look at is pages per session. Okay, so I can go to some of these other sites here, but on average, we want to see people clicking into pages. You want to see people engaging and clicking and visiting multiple pages. And if we can be around that 2 pages, 3 pages per session, that's good. It tells Google, hey, they didn't leave right away. They're engaging. They're wanting more of it. And when you mix those two together, hey, are they staying on the page for a while? Are they engaging the page, scrolling? Are they clicking links and going to other parts of the site? That's a good thing. Google looks at it as, okay, that's useful. They're staying longer. Let me now cue that as a better user experience, and we'll start to bump your ranking up too.
Yeah, and you're not going to get that with a simple, clean website where you're trying to limit the number of pages.
Yep.
I think the worst case scenario is like this whole trend of people doing one-page websites.
Yeah.
Just because it's so easy. Like you see a lot of that on Wix. There's not much of it in our industry, and if you're listening to this, you're not a Carrot member, and you built like a one-page website, like steer very far away from that.
Oh, dude,
that's not going to do any good.
No, there's so many reasons why not to do the one-page website. Now they look sexy, right? And I think people have heard, and we're going to show an article because people are going to go, of course, Carrot's saying this stuff, right? Well, guys, the reason we have the websites look the way that they do is because of the performance. Yeah. We're not backing it in and saying, well, to describe why we want to write long copy, long pages. Yeah. No, literally, it'd be far simpler for all of us to make a page with 300 words on it and a bunch of white space and make it look like apple.com. That'd be far simpler. Okay. But that's not what performs. So let's dig into the next part, unless I'm taking us off script. Hopefully not.
Go for it.
But we're going to dig into other people's opinions on long copy versus short copy. Okay. Yeah. So if you pop up the screen here, Braden. So there's a company called marketingexperiments.com. Back in 2008 is when I first started diving into marketingexperiments.com, maybe even 2007. And during that period of time, Brady, I was reading psychology books, marketing books, Persuasion by Robert Cialdini, and just all the books to figure out, like, how do people work? How do people's brains tick? How do people make decisions? Because if you want to be an amazing marketer, you don't just go study what marketers are doing. You study how people work, how people think, how they take actions. And one of the biggies when you look at that is you start to now remove your own biases of what you think the page should look like. We start to think about that prospect and go, okay, well, what conversation is going through their mind right now? If they click an ad or they do a Google search or they saw your radio ad or something, or they heard your radio ad, what's going through their mind? What problem are they experiencing? When they go to your website, what pains are they having? What have they already seen and looked at, right? And so in this study by Marketing Experiments, we've corroborated it with others as well. They asked that question, long copy versus short copy, right? And the answer is both, but in different situations. Okay, so in their study, short copy works better when it's quick, low resistance types of asks. Okay. It's something that's more impulse oriented. It's something that's emotional. It's something that's a free report, right? It's a go to Zillow and put in your address to be able to, you'll get the home value. There's no risk there. It's not a big next step. It's just a quick thing.
Yeah.
If I want a free report or a discount on these shoes, great, short copy, like crazy short copy, a headline, something cool there, opt-in form, testimonial maybe. And that's it. That's all you need for that discount code or whatever it is, right? But as you go and you go up into things that are more sophisticated or the more challenging decisions, whether it's house-related things or medical or insurance or those types of things, long copy started to perform better. So they ran a bunch of
the
tests.
Pros and cons of working with a real estate investor versus a real estate agent.
Exactly. So long copy started to work better. You have to nurture the visitor's motivation. You have to figure out their level of anxiety around this decision. Is the anxiety high? Then long copy is oftentimes needed to be able to speak to that prospect and build trust and show your expertise and build authority and eliminate their objections along the way. And that's where short copy is just going to really fall flat. A level of cost or commitment associated with the conversion. The higher the cost of commitment with that conversion, the more we need to then be able to build that trust and credibility, which is what content does. So the commitment or cost to be able to put in your address to get a cash offer on your home, you know that someone's going to hit you up on that. Someone's going to make a phone call or something, right? And so it's a far bigger cost for me to do that. And so then I need to build more trust and credibility with the copy. Now, if you look at Open Door, right? If you bring up we got the screen up here. So if you look at Open Door and people will go, dude, opendoor.com doesn't have like 12,000 words on it, right? It's got some pictures and it doesn't have a lot of words. It's mostly pictures and stuff. Their value proposition is different. And this is what investors, agents need to understand is the value proposition when you land on most investor websites or agent websites is engage in this website and you're going to talk with us next, right? Put in the information and then we'll have a phone call with you and we're going to talk. Yeah. And then we're going to figure out if this works and we're going to probably make an offer of some sort. Or if I'm an agent, we're going to talk and then I've got to engage with you and I'm probably going to come see your house, right? So that commitment's way bigger. What Open Door did, and this is why they're successful, is they said, we're going to make the value proposition something completely different. We're going to lower the anxiety. We're going to lower the cost of that conversion to work with us. And they say, put in your address, and we will literally give you an offer right here. You won't have to talk to anybody. Okay? So if you're able to put that into your business, it says, get a cash offer and a few short steps. Skip the showings, do it all from your phone. Oh, man. So my resistance level just shot down to the floor because Open Door created an algorithm and other things that give them some level. They can deliver that prospect some level of offer. Okay. So we can't compare Open Door or your website to another one. You have to ask, what's the value proposition? What is the risk of that conversion? What is the anxiety level of someone that's going to take that next step? And longer copy is going to be needed for a higher anxiety, higher cost conversion, shorter copy for one that's lower anxiety, lower cost.
It's a totally different value proposition.
Completely different.
Yeah. I think that's probably the most important thing to remember is like, what's the value proposition? And then as far as word count, like what's the average word count of the person you're trying to outrank? Like just do a little bit of research, look at the people who are ranking above you and, get a tally, get a summary of what's their word count like, and look at the structure of their content. Like, how are they structuring it? Yeah.
In the other article too on Marketing Sherpa, so kind of bringing another piece of data, and then we're going to dive into kind of what people can do now, like give action steps. Marketing Sherpa, another amazing website that does a lot of split testing. So both of these websites were some of the big ones I studied the heck out of, probably read almost every article in them over the years. And you guys are going to see on this, both of these articles are from 2011. Now, people might say, dude, that's over 10 years old. Human psychology does not change easy. Human psychology is like, it changes over millennia, not over a decade or so. Yeah. Okay. And so we're talking about things that really don't change very easy or very often on how people think, how people take action. And so in this one here, they say focus on value, not length. Okay. So I think that plays in both conversion and SEO. is don't just go for like a 2,000 word piece, right? So don't go to a writer and say, hey, write me a page of 2,000 words.
Yeah.
What ends up happening is, in order to address the objections and alley, to be able to reduce the anxiety and the fears, and to show examples and build trust and build credibility, and show your service and what you can offer, and talk with them and join that conversation, it's probably going to take over 1,000 words to do that effectively, right? Or a 8-minute video, as an example, but that won't help you with SEO.
You don't want to stretch it out and get redundant and have a bunch of fluff in the article just for the sake of getting a higher word count.
Exactly. It's you focus on value to the audience, respect the audience, join the conversation in their mind, and the value that Google is going to reward you, and your website's going to convert better when you focus on that.
Interesting. Let's talk about ways to structure the pages. One of the, we'll show an example in a minute here, but we'll go down a list of like different things you can put in the text to break it up, and not just to break it up, but things that are really valuable to the reader. But one of the things, besides things that are valuable to the reader, is just a CTA, and this is something people miss. You want to give the visitor or the lead multiple chances to turn into a lead through your content. So obviously you have one at the top, like your Carrot homepage. You're going to have one at the very top of the page, your opt-in form. But you want another one middle-ish through your content, and another one at the bottom. And even us as users, like sometimes I'll be reading blog posts, I'll see a form, be like, oh, I should check out, like maybe someone's trying to get me to subscribe to their newsletter. I'm like, oh, that looks really interesting. But I want to keep on reading. And we forget fast. Like you forget, I wanted to jump into that newsletter, and we'll forget. And so don't think of it as like spammy or like you're asking too much. Like it should be adding value and giving people multiple chances to opt in instead of just one little form on your page.
Yep, 100%. And with that, kind of my rule of thumb is about every 500 words in your content, you want to have a call to action form of some sort.
Yeah.
Or a next step. Like, because if you're listening to this and you're an HVAC or you're a contractor, maybe your CTA isn't a form. Maybe it's a button. Maybe it's a call me. But whatever your primary call to action is, about every 500 words in there, you want to have that form. And I'll show a couple examples. So we'll pull up a couple examples here. We'll kind of talk through them. So this one here, Sold Fast, is a national website. This client here, they do deals in lots of different states. And when you look at it, it's a lot of copy, right? It's probably, if I had to guess, it's probably 1,500 to 2,000 words or so. And at the top of the website is always going to be the primary call to action, right? When we originally developed this technology and this method that has been adopted across the entire real estate investing space, every tool in this industry uses this model that we pioneered in this space, okay? When we started in this space, everyone was saying you use squeeze pages. What is a squeeze page? It's a little bit of copy, it's a form, then a little bit of copy below it, and then maybe another form at the bottom. And we said, well, how do we then use a squeeze page, which does help with conversion, it does work with conversion, and marry it with something in a high risk, high anxiety type of an industry like we're in, where someone's selling their home, and they might be going through a challenge when selling their home.
Yeah.
How do we marry that and still be able to have enough content in there to build trust, build credibility, and eliminate their objections, while having enough in there to also make it useful for the reader, so Google's going to love it. And we said, well, let's take the best parts of a squeeze page, which are the hero section. That's your opt-in form and maybe a little image and some credibility and some copy. Let's then put that on the top of a really robust content homepage. And then let's make sure that we're sandwiching the value of the content with calls to action forms.
Yeah.
So no matter where they go, if they're ready to opt in, that's where the hero section takes over. It's like, bam, they're ready to opt in. You're going to get the majority of your opt-ins and your leads through that hero section at the top of your site. Great.
Yeah.
Perfect. So then, but if they're not ready to opt in and they start scrolling down, there's credibility, there's testimonials. It talks about the service and how the service works. There's a video to engage in, which adding videos to the page is good because that keeps the person on the page longer, which is a good website usability deal.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's more about the business. Here's another testimonial. Here's some of the options that they offer. But as you go down, you see there's call to actions. Hey, see what my options are. Here's some more education, some more credibility. Here's some more of what we do. And here's another call to action. Okay. So no matter what, as someone's going through the page, they're going to hit multiple spots where there's a call to action. And we never want to leave someone hanging. You never want to leave someone at the bottom of a web page that they just read wondering what to do next. You always want to have a CTA there. So here's another good example. Opt-in form at the top. You read content. Here's what we do. Here's a little bit about the people that we help. And there's another opt-in form. Bam. Here's some of the services. Here's some of the situations that you might be going through. Here's how our process works. Here's some credibility and testimonials. And then bam, here's another opt-in form.
Yeah.
This one I think has 4 opt-in forms on the page. This one has 3. This page here, which is the #1 ranked page in Boston, the biggest home buyer in Boston, which is ocbuyshouses.com. It's about 1,500 to 2,000 words as well. And we're going to show you guys some ways to structure content and copy effectively so it looks good too. But there's one form. There's another call to action right there. That's a learn more button. There's 2. So I would probably add another one in the middle of this page, honestly. Okay. And then if you look at another page, there's 1 form. This is probably 2,000 words easily. 1 form, 2 forms, 3 forms, 4 forms, 5 forms in this one. Because it's probably a little over 2,000 word article.
Yeah.
Or page. So about every 500 words, you guys want to have your call to action form.
Yeah, it's those clear next steps, which really like that translates to not just your pages, but all your marketing too. Like if you have a drip sequence, like a follow-up sequence for your emails, like every email should have a clear next step. Like check out this page or get this resource or call us, text us, whatever. Have clear
And
next
every
steps.
page should have a CTA.
Yeah.
Like every page. So when people say, because I've heard this so many times, when people say you don't send paid traffic to a website, you send it to a squeeze page, or you don't, websites don't work for conversion. That's true. The way that websites have been traditionally built forever. And that's why when we came into the market, we said, we're going to change it. We're going to change it because we felt that sending to a squeeze page is not the solution. But we felt adding content and credibility is. How do we marry the two and make what we call like a mini site, essentially?
Yeah.
Every page should leave people with a next step to take. Even blog posts, like one of our clients, househeroes.com, they bring in a lot of leads. Some of their blog posts are the pages that bring in the most leads for them. So you have your location pages for like sell my house fast, XYZ city, and that brings in a lot of leads. But then they have blog posts that are ranking really high for random phrases like how to sell a home and stay in it in Florida or something that they found based off of keyword research. You can use our Keyword Explorer inside of our SEO tools to do that keyword research. You can type in your competitor's URL into the Keyword Explorer and figure out what blog posts or content's getting their traffic. But then if you read those articles where most people would just have a 2,500 word article and they're going, this isn't getting any leads. Theirs gets leads every month because about every 500 words, they have an opt-in box. Hey, you're looking to sell that house and stay in it? Well, submit this information. Let's have a conversation. And they get leads from it.
So clear CTAs throughout. Here's some other ways we can kind of break up some of that text. First off, like we've already said, like if it's a wall of text, if it looks like a research paper at a glance, you're doing it wrong. You got to figure out ways to break it up. There's a few ways that you can do supporting images. So you could do like we've seen before and after project or before and after photos of projects. That works well. When I think about user experience and like what do I want to see as a user? What does Google want to see? Is what's other ways you can present what you're talking about through text with images. So, some of this is already baked into Carrot, but like, you can do tables of like, like we've talked about pros and cons of working with an investor versus an agent, side-by-side checklists. So you could do that, little tables. You could do infographics. You could do, there's so many things. You could do quotes, reviews on the page. You can break things up into bullet points. Like, here's the benefits here's what you get when you work with us. You get boom, 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 boom. Just think about how you can present the same information in different ways visually, because everybody consumes differently. And that's another reason. That's another one of the reasons why Google prefers pages with video content, because it's really helpful. If you can watch the video at 1 or 2 speed and get that information faster than having to read the whole article, Google's going to prefer that. When the video is tied to the written content.
100%.
Yeah, there's a lot of ways to break it up.
And to do that work, y'all, you can go into your editor. So I'm popping into the editor of a page here, and we have these things called block patterns. So if you're inside of here and I want to adjust some content, you just go ahead and choose a pattern or a block. So go inside of your page editor, and then you'll go up to the upper left, and there's a little orange plus mark, and then you'll choose blocks or patterns. I'm going to choose a pattern, and in the pattern, let's say it's a personalization pattern or a credibility pattern. I see multiple different patterns I can add in here. So now I can bring in content and credibility without having to make it just a wall of text like you're mentioning. So I can add this one that adds a video with some text on the side of it within seconds. It's going to look great. I add my video right here, and then I update the text, and it's gonna break up that page a little bit to make it look cool. And so right there, I added that whole section of my page in 10 seconds.
Yeah.
And I didn't have to be a web developer to do it. So if you guys have not used the patterns yet, go use them. It's going to dramatically ease how you can adjust the visual of your website. And if there's patterns that you want in your websites that we don't have in there, let us know. Hey, dude, I would love to have this type of thing, make it easier to build this visual aesthetic on my site. Let us know. And we're always looking for new patterns to build out.
That's awesome, man. I'm going to pull up an example real quick. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Share screen. Okay. Boom. Okay. See this? We good?
Gotcha. Yep.
Okay. So Keith Sant, we talk about Keith all the time because we love Keith and he's good at ranking. But if you look at his homepage, we're on kindhousebuyers.com. Here's a couple of things he's done to break it up. So one, he's got a credibility bar. So he's got his opt-in form, some more information about his company, and then a credibility bar. Some people will put like your Facebook reviews, your Google reviews, but he's got his 5-star Google review rating and then a testimonial right next to it. So that breaks it up. Below that, he's got a picture of himself, so it's easily recognizable. It's like, okay, this is Keith. This is the person behind the business. And then kind of like a mini about page there that talks about his company. Keep scrolling down. There's another opt-in. And then we have a block like Trevor was just describing. It's literally what Trevor just showed. It's a video with text next to it, a testimonial next to the video. If we keep scrolling down, this is where he starts doing what I was just talking about. He's using icons. So here's an example. Too many repairs to deal with, inherited a property, going through a divorce, stop foreclosure. He's describing all the situations that somebody would need to be in to work with Keith. And each of those has a little icon and a bigger heading tag. And they're colored, so it breaks it up really easily. Keep going down. You got like a step 1, step 2, step 3. So 3 different blocks with icons in them. More reviews, more photos of properties he's worked with. Here's a table like we were describing of working with Kind House Buyers versus selling with an agent. So he's comparing commissions and fees for him versus an agent, who's paying closing costs, mortgage financing. So it's just a really easy to digest table that just lays out the facts for you. Versus if that's in a paragraph, that's going to be a lot harder to do. Scroll down, more icons, more before and after pages, Google Maps of where his businesses. You can do that pretty easily within Carrot too. But yeah, there's a ton of ways to break it up.
I love it.
Anything else, man? Trevor?
Dude, the biggest thing for me, Brady, like I said, I think it's a mindset shift for everybody. One really, really common thing that I'll hear is the customer themselves saying, well, I think it's too wordy. I don't think anyone's going to read this, right? Or I've heard this one so many times. I sent it to my aunt or my sister who's a designer, and she said she would never read all that copy and that it should be like half of the copy, or should look like apple.com. It should be sleek and should be clean. And that's what people are looking for. They're looking for that, right? And what people have to remember is unless you are a motivated house seller or whatever it is that is the prospect you're marketing after, unless you're marketing after a person who has their AC broken and they need repair, emergency repair, or unless you're marketing towards a cash buyer or a land seller or a land buyer, and you are that person, then it doesn't matter what you think about the copy length or the design of it. Because the approach that most people have with it is they want to give feedback on what they think it looks like to them.
Yeah.
If they don't have that pain, like here's an example. I remember we had bats in our attic a few years back.
Yeah.
Right. And the bats were like over the top of my son's bedroom, and you could hear them scratching in the walls, scratching in the ceiling at night. And the summer got really hot, and that attic got really hot, and it's illegal to remove bats or kill bats. They're protected. So you have to get them out of the attic in a certain way.
Protected by Batman.
Exactly. You have to get them out of the attic in a certain way. And I'm just going, oh my gosh, dude. So they're 5 inches from my son's head on the other side of the wall from where he's sleeping. Right. And you can hear him scratching. I'm going, Okay, are there health issues related to the bat's feces in the attic? You can start to kind of smell it on the really warm days, and are they going to like whittle through the wall and break into his room one day? And are they going to ruin the trusses in there and make us like all these questions are going through my mind. I had the pain, right? I go to Google and start to search up all these things like how to get bats out of my attic and health issues related to bats in your attic and how to clean up an attic after, guano and all this. I was searching all these things 'cause I had the pain.
Yeah.
And there's a bunch of websites that popped up. Now, there were websites that looked really clean and had very little content on them. And I looked at them like, oh man, it just didn't give me what I needed. I wasn't even thinking about marketing at that time.
Yeah.
I was thinking about me with a problem I was trying to get solved. And I landed on these pages with thin content, but looked pretty. They didn't solve my problem.
Yeah.
I kept clicking. I found this one. I think it was called batsintheattic.com or something like that. And it was ugly, dude. And I'm not saying ugly is good. I'm saying I gravitated and actually filled out my information on this website, even though it was ugly. Okay. Because it had all the information I needed.
Yeah.
It had a lot of content. It had pictures everywhere. It had links that said, if you're interested in this, click this link to see about health issues related to bats in your attic. And then I read that, and it's like, click this to learn how to do abatement, guano abatement in your attic. And then click this to learn about the laws in your area around bat removal. I'm clicking all of it because I had a problem. If someone would have came to the average person and said which page would be better to get leads, the simple one that didn't have a lot of content said fill this out and whatever, or this ugly one with all this content on it, I bet most people would say, dude, no one's going to read that. It looks like it's from 2001.
Yeah.
Guarantee that one outperforms the other one by a magnitude of 10 probably.
Yeah.
Because it adds the value, it has the content, it delivers what the prospect needs to solve their problem.
It adds the value. That's a great way to sum it up. It's like if you're, this episode was all about word count and long form versus short form, but just think about value.
Yep.
Like that's why there's so many websites, like ugly websites like this batsintheattic.com that are still ranking. And if you go to YouTube and search for really specific topics, there's so many quote unquote poorly made YouTube videos that are low quality production that were posted 8 years ago that are still outranking because Google and YouTube want to promote the person who's adding the most value, the most specificity, and the most expertise, not just like short, clean topics in theory.
Exactly. One more point to make, and then we'll wrap this puppy into a bow. Even as a marketer who's been doing marketing for 20 years at a pretty high level, I will have misses and not follow my own advice sometimes around copy length. So this is back in 2010 or 11, I think it was prior to Carrot. And we were doing our first ever direct mail campaign. But we were marketing to a list of customers we already had. It was like 1,000 people who had already paid us for something. And we were then trying to build demand for something else that was about $8,000.
Yeah.
Okay. So it was going from something where someone paid between $100 and $500 for something up to an $8,000 deal. Okay. So we sent out the first batch of stuff. And it was this really pretty, it was crazy, dude. Like it looked really, really pretty. It was this pretty like trifold brochure that had all the stuff and these amazing images. Design was amazing. I felt that it had all the copy that it needed. I thought. I sent it out, crickets. Okay, we split tested among the lists. We said we're going to take 500 just randomly, bam, 500. Sent that out to 500 people, followed it up with a similar piece, followed it up, nothing. Not one reply. Okay. The next list, and I've got the direct mail piece in there in my swipe file. The next list I sent to with a long form sales letter, modeled after one that I got one time. Then I'm like, dude, this is good. And I responded to it. It was 9 pages, black and white, single spaced font, no images, no pictures. The call to action on that was on page 7. Page 7, they had to read through 7 pages of single spaced text with headlines and text, no images, all black and white.
Yeah.
They had to read through 7 pages before they saw a call to action. That one crushed it. That one absolutely crushed it. We brought in, I think it was $40,000 or $50,000 in sales on that one. The other one was crickets.
Huh.
The only reason was because when you read that copy, and we can look at it after this, when you read the copy, it brings you into the story. It addresses the conversation in your mind. It keeps dragging you down to the next paragraph. The next paragraph, it speaks to you because that copy knows and understands you so deeply and the problem you have or the desire you have that I'm going to say exactly what is already on your mind of what you want to solve. Then I'm going to build up all this tension and you're gonna be going, oh my gosh, yes, I want that. This is exactly what I want. How do I get it? And on page 7, we showed them how to get it. We do the same thing, guys. We bring this psychology, we bring this marketing into Carrot on our webpage, and we have since day one.
Yeah.
Since day one, we focused on engagement on visitors, on usability of websites, on bringing in copy that engages, builds trust, keeps people on the pages, keeps them clicking, keeps them building trust and credibility so they want to work with you. So you guys be investors, follow our guidance, let us kind of lead in this way. And we're just so pumped to continue to do this with you guys.
Awesome. Well, thanks, man. That's good stuff. We're going to wrap this up here. If you're listening to the podcast, we're about to end it and jump into a live Q&A session. If you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, we're going to do a Q&A. But if you're listening to the podcast, join us on YouTube or join us on Facebook next week in the Facebook community. Go to community.carrot.com. If you're not a Carrot member and you're curious about what it can do for you, just take a demo. Go to carrot.com and take a demo of Carrot to see how we can help you. And if you are a member, try out the SEO tools. If you want to rewrite content easier, faster, so you could break some of that copy up, use the AI rewrite tool we have. Got a bunch of SEO tools to help you out. So that's all, and we'll jump into the Q&A. Thanks for listening, everyone.
Thank you.
Sweet. All right, let's dive into the comments. I haven't been looking at Facebook while we're up here chatting. Casey Duvall says, Dan Kennedy would agree. Yes, good old Dan Kennedy. Get some good feedback. Okay, here we go. What kind of questions we got? Okay, so here's a good one. Jessica said, I can relate to this. She said, I get that it needs to be content. I get that it needs the content for SEO, but I feel like I'm being redundant. I may be doing it wrong, but honestly, even I get tired of the keywords. Are there other ways to get points for SEO other than the keywords, i.e. pictures with links? I don't know, what I think of is what you were just talking about from a design perspective. Like we have to stop thinking about how we think and feel about it because we're not, in this case, the motivated seller.
Yeah.
And I think we can get so tunnel visioned looking at our content and be too nitpicky or critical of it and be like, oh, I said this word too many times. I don't think the prospects see it that way.
Yeah.
And there are other ways. Yeah, you should do on page optimization. You should, follow best practices for titling your images and etc. But I mean, as long as you're shooting for like 1% to 2% keyword density ish, it's not too much, but I get that. Just like it can feel like too much. What do you think?
Yeah, dude. Where I find people likely have the problem the most here is when they're using a keyword phrase a lot. So I'll give an example. Sell your house fast in Roseburg. Now, if you use that phrase over and over and over and over again, it does get redundant and starts to look unnatural. That's where it gets weird. Right. Because then you're like, well, I want to use I want to use sell my house fast, or I want to use, quickly or whatever. Yeah, you should be mixing those up. So I think when we start to think about entities or keywords versus keyword phrases, the first thing that pops up to me is the only reason that we would use those words is because that's what people are actually searching in Google. Right. So let me bring up my screen real quick here. So if I go to Google and type up sell my house fast, okay, and I'll just do the first one that pops up here. So sell my house fast in Baltimore, and I'm going to scroll down to the suggested search things that pop up. So in the related searches, these are actual searches that real people typed in. So real people typed in "we buy houses Baltimore." So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at every individual word. Okay, every individual word. So people are saying "we." Okay, well, they're looking for the "we buy houses" people, the bandit sign people, the people who are saying "we buy houses" on their ads, right?
Yeah.
But the word "buy," okay, if they're saying the word "buy," I should probably include the word "buy" in my content, and should probably include it more than one time, right? If they're saying the word "houses" or "house," then people are looking for those words, and I just want to speak their language back to them. Yeah, that's all I'm thinking about. I'm not trying to think about gaming anything. Right. If I know, and I'm a carpet salesman or something like that, and and I know that's probably a terrible example because I know nothing about carpets, but if I know that you really, really care about this one feature or part of a carpet, and I keep on hearing every time someone comes in my carpet store, customers keep on saying these things, right? Well, I want to make sure that the stains remove easily and quickly. Well, what type of stains? Well, wine and this and mud. Okay, cool. Wine, mud. I'm cataloging all these things that people keep on saying.
Yeah.
Well, what else do they care about? Well, I want to make sure that it doesn't have like traffic patterns, or what do they say? Well, I want to make sure that the carpet is durable and doesn't wear down. Okay, let me catalog those. If I keep on hearing those words coming up over and over again, I want to now, next time I talk to a person coming into my shop, I'm going to say those words back to them.
Yeah.
Those are the words, because those words are the words they're saying, they're thinking. So I'm going to speak in their language. So that's the only reason this matters, y'all. If someone was searching other words in Google and it wasn't these, we would just need to say those words back to them.
Right.
So if we shift that mindset, that's all copy is, that's all SEO is what is it that people are looking for? What's related to that topic? So what's related to the topic of Sell My House Fast Baltimore, according to Google, according to data of what people are searching, is a phrase cash buyers. Okay, cool. So if I know that type of person who has the intent to sell their house, that many of them are looking for cash buyers, they're actually typing that into Google, then I just need to make sure I'm saying those things in the content so they can see me speaking in their own language. And where the entity percentage comes in is if I have the word cash in there one time out of 2,000 words as an example, is that we have to ask the question, how important is that topic or that word to the prospect? So if I'm a carpet salesman, once again, and durability or stain resistance or something is like the most important thing of everything related to it, or affordability, I'm going to rank what are the words that are most important to the people. I'm going to say those things more.
Yeah.
I'm going to put those words on the labels of the carpet in my advertisement because that's what people are saying the most, that is the most important to them. And in this, the reason that you end up having entity percentages is because those are the things that are the most important to that prospect. So on your page, you see an entity percentage that, one of the highest ones should be your city, right? So it should be like Roseburg. Well, the reason we want to have that of, a little over 2% of the total words in your page is because the person doing the search really, really cares about this being specific to Roseburg because they're in Roseburg. If you only included Roseburg in that page once, they might think, oh, I missed it. Are they even in Roseburg?
Yeah.
Right. So hopefully that's a helpful way to think about it. And I'm pretty sure that's how Google thinks about it too. It's like the person searches this thing, they're looking for this,
Right.
because Google has a lot of data. They've recognized that these other searches are related to the same intent. So now they have a bunch of words in here and they say, let me go find the page that is the most relevant to what this person is actually thinking and looking for. And the only way to know is by having those words on there.
Yeah. That's good stuff, man. I don't see any other questions specific to this topic. I feel like we covered it pretty well.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, I don't see anything else.
Cool.
But everybody, thanks for hopping on. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, next week we're going to be starting a series on EAT. So next week we're talking about expertise and experience. What does that mean? How do you work that into your website?
Yeah.
Week after that, authority. Week after that, trust. So both from an SEO perspective and just an overall marketing perspective. But
Heck yeah.
it's something I'm excited about because we can kind of start to demystify EAT and what that means for SEO. So let us know if you have any questions in the community. Thanks for hanging out with us, and we'll see y'all next week.
Heck yeah. Study marketing, y'all. Be a marketing student.
Awesome. See you guys.